Hey, welcome to my little corner of the world, to yours. Hope you're enjoying the spring. Today is Earth Day. It's April 22nd, 2024. This is Earth Day. Earth Day started in 1970. I didn't really know about it until maybe the early 90s. I didn't know it was even such a thing. But all kinds of festivals are happening. It's springtime. The pollen here in the southeast is just going crazy. We're all just stocking up on all the allergy meds. Most of us are. I didn't really have I don't think I even had this kind of an issue when I first moved here. It's just gotten worse. I don't know if that's gotten worse because the trees are shedding a lot more, or just simply that I'm just older now and it's just affecting me even more. It never gets easier as the years go on with anything. We're just like cars in a way, just without the actual physical engines that we see in cars. So speaking of that Earth Day, what's really big here in Georgia, they're really trying to get into the electronic vehicle market, but the place called Rivian, which they have spent billions of dollars trying to clear out here in the eastern part of Georgia, they put a pause on that plant of making more electric cars because, well, electric cars tend to be about 6 grand, more like six figures, like $100,000 or more. So, completely unaffordable for most of us here. So it's going to take a while for the price to go down on these things. But it's exciting that technology is moving forward with electronic vehicles, and Georgia's a very big player in that. Kia is really getting into it. Kia has had a huge influence here in Georgia, and is really going to be getting into the electric vehicles as things go forward. But anyway, enough about Earth Day. Hope you're enjoying all the festivals out there. That's starting to heat up. Hopefully, we will not see tornadic activity. That's something that always concerns me every time we get into the springtime here in the Southeast or anywhere else. It's twisters could happen anywhere. You could have them in there. I swear, I think Utah's even seen, which we've never really even seen before. So, climate change, folks, lots of climate change, but we will not debate how that's happening. Maybe it's the Earth just getting older and doing its thing, or we're contributing. Who knows? We have no idea. I'm not getting into that. Anyhow, so April 22nd is a beautiful day here and everywhere else. It is also the birthday. Guess whose birthday it is? J. Robert Oppenheimer. Yes, this is his birthday posthumously. He was born in 1904, and that movie, which I do plan on as of this recording to go see, cleaned up very well at the Oscars this year. And we'll see a lot happening this summer as far as great brand new spanking movies coming out. So I look forward to the summer movie season. But last year's was pretty neat. Barbie's just such an excellent film. Please go out there and rent it and watch it as much as you can. Barbie is just an amazing film. Wink, wink. Okay. Well, and not exactly my cup of tea, but hey, get out there and see it. Also, it's the birthday of Machine Gun Kelly. So I'm not too familiar with Machine Gun. Today I speak with the members of the band Rizz and the Believers. Rizz is the lead singer. He grew up in Reno, Nevada. He's got a lot of great youthful energy, a lot of hip hop, a lot of reggae, some rapping. It's something that he really learned growing up there in Reno. And he brings this to the group with its own unique stylings. And he got together with Troy Luccketta, who is the member of Tesla. He's the drummer from Tesla. 35 plus years of working with Tesla. So he brings a lot of that experience into the band. Peter Keys from Lynyrd Skynyrd is part of it. And Mike Staretow, who is a very big part of the project, he was the lead guitarist for Foreigner when they had Lou Gramm all together with them. So great band, great stylings. We talk about how they got together. It was all by happenstance. Troy will tell you the story about his son, who's the percussionist in this group, about how it all came together. Great stylings in here. We also have Michael Devin. He's from Whitesnake, and then later on he joined the Dead Daisies. Great bassist, excellent grooves, especially in this track, which is out. Folks, you got to get this new single. It is just incredible. There is a great video that goes along with it. Check it out on YouTube. It is just amazing how these guys come together and just perform and with their own original stylings. And they also have a great multi-instrumentalist in this group named John Salloway. He has got an incredible distinctive touch into it. So really sit back, enjoy. I saw a clip of these guys playing it before I even spoke with them. They were on WSMV in Nashville, and you could just see them playing live. Hard for them to go touring because you got so many people with other commitments. So we kind of get into that, but it's really, really tough to try to get that much talent out there on their epic, and they're going to try. They got a full LP coming out later this year in 2024. And they're working on that. So they're going to have 11 tracks put together with that. Lead single, Don't Stop Trying, is out. Look it up wherever you get your music, streamers, YouTube, wherever you can. And I really, really enjoy talking with these guys. So also, I really wanted to stress to you, April 22nd, Earth Day, go out there and take care of Mother Earth because it really needs a lot of help these days. That is for sure. Really enjoy this episode, and I'll see you on the other side of this. Good morning.
Morning to you, man. Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Oh, totally, totally. Great honor. Absolutely. And thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Mr.
Where
Luke.
are you where are you recording from today?
I'm here in the studio, here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, great town. I meet a lot of artists from that area, and they just are it's just a solid place, such great community, and everybody supporting one another. It's just a really good place to be.
It is. It is the place to be, especially if you're doing music, man. It's a wonderful, beautiful place. Lots of great people.
How did you end up in Nashville?
This man right there, Mr. Troy Luccketta. Um,
Yes,
so
the legend.
the legend, absolutely, man. Yeah. So Troy called me 2 years ago. I got out here and I've been actually stay here at Troy's place, and we have a studio here, and that's where we've been recording this album.
Oh, so how did Rizz and the Believers come to be?
Well, it started with me and Troy Luccketta Jr. Actually in the Bay Area working on an EP. Is kind of where it all started, and was working out there with him, and he called Troy and basically said, "Pops, I'm working on this EP with an artist, and could use you to play some drums." And here
It
came,
was it was something like that. He was going through his surgery, and I was
yeah,
going to California to spend 3 weeks with him at the time. And good morning, by the way. How are you
Yeah,
today?
absolutely. I'm doing well, doing well.
So yeah, I came into town. I walked into my son's. He has a tri-level, and I walk into the garage in the basement where he's got a studio, and I'm at the ground level. I walk in the door, and there's this body on the floor on a air mattress, and Mr. Ritz. There we go. We got introduced, and basically at that point, my son had was in recovery mode from his surgery. So yeah, he introduced me to Riz and showed me what they were working on, and basically said, "Hey, pops, can you help me out with some drums?" And go ahead, Riz. Take it from there.
yeah, yeah. So that's when he kind of came in, and it was a beautiful experience, man. Me and Troy connected. Me and Troy Jr., he felt like a brother to me. And, then Troy comes in and we all felt like family right from the start, really. And he came in and he's like, he goes, I want to put some drums on this. I had honestly not known much of Troy's history. So I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I kind of like where the song sits right now. I think it's all right, man. He's like, Riz, let me put some drums on here, man. Please, trust me on this. And I'm like, all right, we can do that. And so we had a wonderful time. Needless to say, he put drums on the songs, all of them. And we had a great time. And that had led to us continuing to work on that EP. And then COVID had kind of shut things down, obviously. And I had come out here to Nashville, and actually Troy puts on a big show out here on 4th of July, and he let me host that and perform on that. And then 2 years later, we reconnected. And Troy was in a studio session. I was in Reno, where I'm born and raised in Reno. And Troy had called me and said, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And I was at the time still doing some shows and putting together my own shows in Reno and kind of doing some of the California area. And so, man, I'm just kind of, spinning my wheels on what's my next step. What's the next move? I'm ready to kind of to move further along with this career and really, go for something. So it was really a beautiful time for him to make that call. And I said, "Man, I'm hanging." He goes, "Well, I'm in the studio and we're listening to some of the music that we had worked on. And, you know, uh, why don't you get out here? Why don't we finish what we started, man?" And I was like, "Troy, man, when do you need me? I'm ready. I'm really ready. It's a perfect timing." And he was like, "Well, when can you get here?" I said, "Well, um, I'll be there in 4 days." Looked at my schedule,
Hmm.
and it was one of those things where, honestly, man, I booked a one-way ticket. I quit my job and I went for it. I took that leap of faith. He said, "If you can get here, we can make things happen." And I just kind of showed up on his doorstep 4 days later, literally. And I don't know if he thought that I was
2 years
really going to be
later.
there, but I was there. And I don't know if he knew that I was going to quit my job and really just be like, "I'm here now and this is it." But that's kind of what happened. And spent some time out here. I've been here ever since, really. I mean, I've taken a couple trips back home. I went back home a couple weeks later, packed my bags, and drove across the country. And we've been working on this album ever since, man. That's 2 years ago.
Wow. Yeah, and that energy really shows in that new single, Don't Stop Trying. So how
Yeah.
did that come about? That has got a melange. This is a great single. It's got a
Thank,
melange of just so many different influences. So you must have really just like mashed this all up, and it's just the result is amazing.
thank you, man. I really appreciate that. We put a lot of work into this whole album and that song, and it's a very special track. I wrote it quite some time ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, is when I wrote the song. But yeah, it's got a lot of cool influences as far as getting together with Troy and how we've built this and how he wanted to bring different musicians to help build the sound. And that's what's kind of creating this sound that you hear with Don't Stop Trying. It's kind of have that edge and that that push to it. The lyrical side, which is perseverance and fighting through life's challenges, and no matter what life brings at you, just don't stop trying. And then you have the musical bed of the Believers, which is just a wonderful group of musicians that Troy kind of masterminded. If you want to kind of add into any of that, Troy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what started with my son. So one of the songs I had to put drums on was "Don't Stop Trying." It was, I think, maybe one of the first things I had actually put drums on. And when I was recording, I had to understand where this music was coming from. I'm like, "Rizz, I don't understand. Who's the musicians on here?" He's like, "I don't know." And what it meant is he had licensed this music that he would put his vocals on, and it was pre-recorded, canned music that could be licensed to anybody.
Uh,
So he licensed this music, and then after my son had put all the vocals on, and they started adding to this music landscape. So now we've got the new drums, so we've got all this, and by the time we had finished what we were working on, like maybe 5 songs, I think at the time. I go, "Man, this is all brilliant. And the only problem with it, it's all licensed music, and you've got other people now that have this music." So one of the ideas when he came, when I brought him out, the first thing I had to do was re-record and recreate this new sound. And what was it going to be? Like I told him, I said, "Man, we're here in Nashville, Tennessee, where I'm in Florida right now today." But at the time I said, "Rizz," I says, "Nashville's kind of a double-edged sword as I see it." I
yeah.
said, "The beautiful part about what it is there are so many phenomenal musicians. We could take these songs and I could have this stuff flushed out in the next week, and we would have this body of work that you would absolutely love because these guys are so great at what they do." I says the only problem with that is it might not be what we're looking for, you know. And I said, how about if I create a group of guys and build something and try to build a sound and put this thing together in a more organic, original form of music that could become its own thing, you know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened. I was out with the Guess Who this last year. Last year I did like
Oh,
about 35 shows with them. And while I was out there, two of the musicians that are the Believers are two guys. One, the guitar player, Michael, excuse me, Staretow. He spent 10 years with Lou Gramm. I don't know if you know anything about the Believers yet, but Michael Staretow had been playing in the Guess Who for a bit. And so when I got out there, I met up with him, and he moved to Nashville from Rochester. So we got to connect. Michael Devin, the bass player, I had seen him on the road because he had spent 10 years in Whitesnake. And
yep.
he was out with Jason Bonham for two tours.
Oh,
And I always loved Michael Devin. I was a huge fan of his. And now we're playing together in the Guess Who. And then he leaves to go join the Dead Daisies. Yeah, because they made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And I thought, well, cool, you know. So while I had this dream band and I started this process, Michael Devin had come to me and said, look, man, he says, you know, I goes, I'll be leaving the Guess Who. I'm going to be going with the Daisies. But he says, man, I really don't want to lose the Rizz project. I'm really into it. I love it. I want to be a part of it. I said, look, Michael, it's real simple, man. It's yours until you tell me it's not, you know. And so he was a believer, you know, and I didn't have Rizz and the Believers at the time. It was K-Rizz. And I'll let you tell the quick story around that. Summarize that really quick, Rizz.
Yeah,
Why
that
we're
was
Rizz.
yeah.
And then
well, yeah, I was under K-Riz for, quite some time, 5, 6 years, putting out music under that name, and had some songs out and was doing my thing. This was all in Reno based. And then once we kind of moved into this project, they were just looking into copyrights and other certain things, and looking at, there was another Chris Calico, who I'd heard of, and there was a couple other K-Rizzes out there. And he was like, man, I mean, we were talking to some people, and they said, I mean, we could keep it, but if you want to try to do something different. And it's funny because he goes, man, I know this is going to be hard, but I think you got to change your name, or just shorten it. Maybe it's just Rizz. And I'm like, it was hard. He goes, man, I mean, just, you got to do what you got to do. So we did that. And it's funny when I go back to a lot of my earlier mixtape stuff that I was doing, because I kind of started more in the hip hop, area, and doing a lot of mixtapes. And it's where I started in high school, was rapping and doing mixtapes. And when I go back to my first songs, it was like, it's Rizz, it's Rizz. And I'm like, it's already been Rizz from high school and all these years prior. So then fast forward to all these years, it's funny because we changed the name to Rizz, and then all of a sudden here comes Rizz. My sisters, I got I got my sisters that are like, hey, Rizz is a thing now, just so you know. And, the kids are saying this in my school. It's a thing. I'm like, what? And now Rizz becomes word of the year, and it's this whole thing. And we were just laughing about that. I'm like, well, all right, whatever it is, so that's kind of how Rizz came to be. It's just kind of what was necessary. And it was just funny how it worked out that way.
Yeah, that's just
but
an
then what
amazing
happened
story.
was so now I'm driving down the road. I remember like yesterday, I says it was we were in the car. We were out. I was out with the Guess Who, and we were transporting from one city to another. We played a show, and I remember saying to Michael Devin, I don't know, some reason I go, man, Rizz, I go, how about the Believers, man? And I go, hey, so I said it, I ran it by both Michael Staretow and Michael Devin, and Michael Devin's like, yeah, man, Rizz and the Believers with a Z, man, at the end, And so that's how I called Rizz. I got really excited. I said, how about Rizz and the Believers, man? And I'll put this band together. So now I've got two Believers, and actually three, because John Salloway we haven't spoken about yet. And then to wrap that up, and then there's Peter Keys from Lynyrd Skynyrd. So
Wow.
that the way the whole band came together, I had started this recording process, and John Salloway has become like our secret weapon because I started with him. he had approached me. He has his own records out. He's a great artist on his own. You can look him up, John Salloway.
Yeah.
Very Beatle influenced. And his music comes across that way, but very non-pretentious. Huge Beatles fan. And so I was doing some of his. He had a couple showcases and such, and record release parties, and I played on those. Became a big fan of his, and I thought he'd be good in the project. And now I have this band, and I'm still trying. Before Peter Keys got involved, he was kind of the last guy and the glue in the project because I had tried a few other things. We had a lap steel guy come in. These guys in Nashville, like I said, are so great. Puts all this stuff down, and it was all great. And I'm like, yeah, that's really great, Rizz, but it's not what we're looking for, you know. And it wasn't until I forget how I'm trying
Remember,
to think how Peter
we
Keys
were
came into
listening
the
to
picture.
we were doing it was actually really cool because we were doing Give It a Go, one of the tracks. And there's this long outro that Staretow and Salloway are totally doing this awesome melodic thing with the guitars. And we're listening, and it kind of runs super long. And I'm like, man, I want to leave that because the feel of these guitars is epic. And I feel like this is where you get to the end of the show and the lights are beaming through the fog, and I could just feel this euphoric moment happening through these guitars and how they're just sounding the feel of it. I'm like, I mean, I get chills thinking about it. And Troy's like, man, it's like this is kind of like our Freebird, outro thing that we just
That's
need to
right.
find. And then he goes, just in the land of, being with Troy and Mr. Luccketta, it's like, it's funny, man, because I was just somehow the other week I got, Peter Keys and me and we're talking and we were going to work. Maybe I'll shoot him a call. And I was like, maybe, and then he got Peter, he called Peter and he's like, hey man, we're working on something. And I mean, who better to bring in that feel than someone that's playing that music? And so that's how Peter came into the picture, was because we were just thinking of a Lynyrd Skynyrd Freebird outro.
Oh, Freebird,
Well,
classic,
and
totally.
then he sent in his tracks. He recorded his stuff at his house because he's got a great studio and he's got his B3 and his and anyway, and that's what happened. He sent over "Don't Stop Trying It." Right when I heard it, man, I was like, there it is.
Yeah.
And really, that's when the Believers were born, and everybody that has come into this, like I said, at that level, here I got these all-star group of guys that come from a different world, and we got Rizz, doing this music. And I know you haven't heard the rest of this record, which is phenomenal. This is one of the most phenomenal records I feel I've ever been a part of. It's that good. And
Yeah.
it's super exciting because it's new, it's fresh, it's different. I'm glad you like the track and that it's really resonating with you because that's so important to us because here I think it and believe what it exactly is to me and what we believe it is to us, and nobody's heard it yet. So to hear your response is awesome. So back to you, my friend.
Yeah, folks, get out there and get this single and then the entire album is or EP and really enjoy it. Now, what is the writing process like for you? Did the lyrics come to you first? Is it melodies or is it a little both as you start to construct a song?
I feel like it's a little bit of both. I'm very melodic driven, I love coming up with the melodies and the chorus usually first is kind of how I do it. A lot of the times, honestly, I freestyle. And I don't freestyle the whole song, but that's how I write is I've always played the instrumental in my, I'll find these instrumentals that I like. And now it's kind of evolving being in Nashville because coming from the hip hop kind of formula, it was like I would just find beats and I would just throw them in and I would freestyle. And I had a studio that I built in my garage, and so I had my vocal booth set up, and I would just run these tracks. And when I would write, it was more so freestyling. And as I would just kind of freestyle, I would chop that down and refine it as I go, and I would just over and over kind of until I find that really get that idea. But it starts with that melody, and then I build into the lyrics, and with that one, it was just don't stop trying. And so usually it starts that way, and then I'll find that chorus, and that kind of tells me what I want the song to be about. And then I can go through and fill in those verses of what I want it to speak to and how I want to really pass that, what I want that message to say. So it's funny because this one I didn't anticipate with the album being what it was. I didn't anticipate this being the first track. We had a couple different ones that we felt might be stronger for different reasons. But there's no doubt about it that this is meant to be the first debut song for this because of the meaning of it and the significance of the message with the timing and who we are as people and what it is very much so beyond the music. I mean, that's kind of what I try to I really want people to know that this is for me, it's so much more than the music. It's the message. It's what we're trying to do through the music. And you talk to people, the youth, and just everybody really about, perseverance and the importance of that message of don't stop trying. It's kind of our backbone. It's our mantra. It's our motto, and it's a part of the backbone of our brand of who we are as people and how I know for me how this song even came to be. That's what was cool for me is because through me having to go through so many different things allowed me to finally birth the song of Don't Stop Trying. I couldn't stop trying just to get out the song. So it's kind of deep, it's got a lot of meaning to it.
Yeah, you embrace your inner strength after listening to this track, and you're doing your job. If you've done that for your listeners, then you've definitely done your job, and it's you could really feel that with this track.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it means a lot. And I really feel that people, and I hope that people feel that and that it does inspire people. That's our whole goal here is it's music with purpose, and we want people to feel inspired and to feel hopeful and motivated and when they hear that, and that's why I love the ringing tune to it, it's don't stop trying
Yeah,
and let that ring in their head. We've had some people calling us going, man, just from the little clips that have gotten out there going, can't get that little song. I can't get that melody
right.
out of my head, and I'm like, that's what it's about. We want you to fall asleep and wake up, going, don't stop trying. So
Yeah, so you do that on WSMV in Nashville, and they were really treated to something special. Are you going to go out and do kind of an extensive tour? I mean, everybody's coming from different places here in this band. Are you able
yeah.
to get the band together and do some touring at least?
Well, for select dates that haven't been, we're just getting this thing, out. This part of it has been such a beast of a project to not only, I mean, it's a magical thing that these people have even been able to work on the
Yeah.
project. So it's a lot to manage, and we're kind of allowing this thing to show us what it's going to be and how we're going to let it happen. These guys are busy, of course. We do have some shows where we're going to be doing some acoustic stuff and, one day at a time, we're going to see how it goes and get out there and play the music as we can. And when it's time, when the time aligns and we can do that, obviously that's our main goal. But, as at this time and at place, we don't know when that's going to necessarily be.
Yeah, you got the best of all worlds mixed in there. You got Tesla, Whitesnake, Lynyrd Skynyrd, somebody who worked with Lou Gramm. It's just a melange of really great stuff. So yeah, it's a good end result. What's the recording process like for you all to get together? And do you do it all in one takes? Do you do a lot of overdubs?
I'll take over from there. Basically, what's happened with the whole record on a whole, because there's probably 30 something songs we have, and we're
Oh,
probably dipped into about a dozen of them. And the process so far has been um, I would bring John Salloway and myself. Everything's recorded in my studio. Some of the stuff that, like the vocals on Don't Stop Trying, we had done at my son's. We actually lifted that, and and there was 4 songs where we had taken the vocals because they were so well done and recorded with my son, and some of the work that we had done. Even we kept one drum track that I did over there as well. But basically started everything over. I bring in John Salloway. John and I work together. We form out the song. We get everything and rebuild the music from the ground up. Um, and then I'll bring in usually Michael Staretow, who's our both the guitar players, and we kind of get things, and I just kind of get my whole goal in working the recording production side of my vision has been, look, give me one guitar here, give me one on the left, one on right. I just like Tesla. We used to put Tommy on the left and Frank on the right. Now Dave Rude on the left and Frank on the right. So I just take that same philosophy, and it's like, because let's not get into overdubs and stacking guitars. I mean, let's find the magic. Where's the magic at? And if the magic's not there, it's not there. We got to create it. So it's a process. If we have to sit there and work it and get it right and spend time with it, we do. Usually with John Salloway, he'll come in and he'll play and he'll vibe me all the way to the end. And now I'll go in, and some of these tracks I'll throw on a click track and I'll kind of know where the song's at, and I'll have a rough sketch with the one guitar, and then I'll play, and then at the end of the click track I'll keep playing. I won't stop playing to the time, so that way when these guys get in there, we have a 4-minute song that could turn into 7 minutes, because we don't know what's going to be created on the fly. Because if I haven't stopped playing, they don't know that they're supposed to stop, and they have to keep playing and coming up with things. And this thing has just kind of brought its own little magic by just letting those things happen and not getting in the way of that process. It was, oh, the song's done at 3 minutes and 30 seconds. No, the song's not done until I stop playing. So we have that's where these epic jams that you haven't heard come from. And some of these songs it's beautiful. That's where we get the Freebird,
Yeah.
But we have a co-producer, David Brainerd, who we haven't talked about yet, who's in Nashville. And I don't know how familiar you are with some of the country guys in Nashville, but there's Jamie Johnson. Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
So David Brainerd, our co-producer, produced his first album. And he also produced a #1 record for a guy named Jared Neiman, who had a song "Lover, Lover." I think the song might be called "Lover." Yeah. So, but and then he also had nominated for 3 Grammys with the gal. I think it's Brandy Clark. But at any rate, he came over through a friend of mine who I had met, who knew him, and he had been at the house. And I just decided to call him to get him together to write with Rizz. I wanted to expand Rizz's world with writing. I said, Rizz, what's really people do here in Nashville, they get together and they do co-writes. People get together and write songs. I know a few writers out here, so we got him together with David Norris and David Brainerd, and both of them have produced amazing songs, which are part of the record. And David Brainerd is so gifted as a producer, he could pretty much play everything. I mean, I would send Rizz over there. They'd come back. He'd come back with a track, for instance, like a song called "I Believe," which might be our second single, and the song's done. I mean, really, quite honestly, it wasn't that it needed anything. You could have listened to it and just been okay with it. It was that great, But me listening to it, it spoke to me a little differently, and I thought, well, wow, what could I contribute? What could we contribute to this? Does it need drums? You could even argue that. No, it doesn't. It's that good. The song's great on its own, but let's see where we can take it. So that's when I jump in and I start adding the Believers, and we kind of tidied that one up, and we got a beautiful masterpiece of a song. Came out really, really great. So that has been an overdub process. When speaking about the process of how we do, so sometimes it's changed, and we're still flushing some of that out because it's still pretty new with these songs. But I would say about 70+% of what we have is built around the Believers. Is that about fair to say, Rizz?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, the sound, and you're going to hear it through the record, and so we've got this really cool thing happening, and and yes, the ultimate goal is to bring all the Believers in and get this thing on the road, down the road. So
yeah,
I hope I answered your question. I know it's long-winded.
Quite a task to get all this talent together in one room and do it. I could only imagine. So where can we find all this stuff? You got a YouTube channel out there as well, and you're on all the streamers, I'm sure. And can you get physical copies of this material?
Right now, everything's Rizz and the Believers. Believers with a Z. We have our YouTube, our Facebook, our Instagram. All that stuff is up and running. So go give us a follow. The single will be out April 12th on all platforms. So make sure to go get that, and we'll have some pre-saves available later this week. And so As far as physical copies, we won't have that available until we get to the album, which is going to be later on this year. But for right now, everything's going to be digital streaming. And April 12th is when we kind of kick this thing off. And, we're less than a month away. Super excited to finally get all this years and, of work finally being able to put it out to the people.
Good deal. It's so
There's
you're going for a full length album. How many tracks do you expect to have on the full length album later here in 2024?
11. It's my
Good
favorite number.
deal. Yeah,
Lucky.
lucky 11.
Lucky 11, baby. That's what we're going for. And yeah, we're like Troy said, we're really close to that too. We're about even 70% done, with this record. Just have some final touches knowing us.
It's been a different process because it's all independent and we're all self-funded and we're doing everything on our own. And quite honestly, we're not interested in any majors. I think they're going to be interested. But I think for us right now, we want to see how far we can take things on our own, get this thing exactly like we want it, and not prematurely do anything. We're just we're in line with the universe, so to speak.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, thanks for dropping by. It's been a pleasure and best wishes going through this year and beyond. And that was a great chat with the guys. This is kind of weird because we're never in the same room. I have never done an episode of this podcast with anybody in the same room. Perhaps that will happen one day. It's still kind of strange. Troy was in Florida, Rizz being in Nashville. So I love how the internet keeps us together like that. But yeah, there's always this element. I wish I could have everybody in the same room. I think we would have definitely more of a closeness, but you do what you can. This whole podcast was made available because of this tool. So thank you to Zoom for actually hosting this. Of course, they should be thanking me actually now. That's okay. I'm grateful for that. And it's been good technology. It's been good to me. So I really do like that. But yeah, would be nice to see these guys in person. I have yet to see, I don't think I've seen any of, well, maybe I've seen one or two of my guests live in the 3.5 years I've been doing this podcast. It's very rare if I ever do get out. It's what the pandemic did to us all. So I really hope you enjoyed this. And I do plan on having more of these type of episodes out. Thank you for listening to me this far. And take care and take care of Mother Earth. This is Earth Day. Started in 1970. Unbelievable. Anyway, take care, enjoy, and best wishes, and stay safe out there.